everybody, Jared Johnson here. Nice to be with you for a couple of minutes today. I wanted to cover a couple of things that I've been watching and talking about the last several days. Some of you may have watched my interview with FX Street last week where I talked a little bit about what I thought the euro dollar might be up to and the pound dollar and some of the dollar pairs, and I think that's an interesting topic right now, especially a day ahead of non-farm payroll and where we have a pretty interesting technical setup on the euro dollar itself. This is a euro dollar daily chart right here. If you look at the weekly chart on this euro dollar, it's made a pretty interesting move. Had this big move down here. It's broken out of this long-term trend line going all the way back to the high of 2014, and it came back and retested that trend line. Not a big surprise, pretty common occurrence to have that happen. In the process of coming back to retest this big long-term trend line, what we've ended up having happen as well is a decent medium-term trend line has been broken, and it's retesting that, and it's kind of stuck between these two things. For me, the 10800 and about 10950 are kind of crucial levels, about 150 pips apart, and they're pretty important for me. I think if euro breaks below 10800, it turns into a big bearish move down. However, if it gets back up above 10950 with any significant movement, we resume the buying once again. That puts us back up above this trend line. We may even need to push it up to the 110 area, but it gets us back up above this trend line. It proves that this big guy can hold and that we're going to continue the buying pressure. Now, one of the things that I'm looking at here on the euro dollar is that it's had a pretty big move down. It has not made any new lows since this low back here in the very early part, just about exactly a year ago. So we made a big low back there, and it hasn't made any really new significant lows. And we've had a pretty nice little Fibonacci sequence where when it crosses a certain level, it has a high probability of reaching a next level. And right now, that next level for us is 118 on euro dollar, which is pretty intense. So it seems like it's pretty far up there. One thing I wanted to look at, since the euro dollar is paired with the dollar, I figured if we look at euro dollar versus gold, what's euro dollar versus gold doing? And we look at this chart right here, we can see, now I know that the euro dollar and gold are not heavily correlated, but they do follow each other because of the dollar element. So if we have euro dollar and gold next to each other, this is euro dollar at the top and gold at the bottom, you can see that they've actually done pretty well staying somewhat correlated with the dollar weakness element, gold and euro, and it's pretty significant. Now, the euro has kind of been coming down where gold came down right there, but gold has been on this pretty big rally, this pretty big tear. The euro's only starting. It's kind of lagging that movement. But as we can see, they've been pretty closely correlated. So now that that movement is starting up pretty strong on gold, is the euro bound to follow? Here's gold. This is an interesting chart that I've been watching on gold, and it's this guy right here. We've had this wedge forming for some time. Gold's been on this pretty nice move, and it's formed in this wedge, and it's just recently broken out. And it looks like it's ready to continue higher. That's going to be an interesting point. Here is the dollar index versus gold. This is gold on the bottom, dollar index on the top. And you can see that these guys have been inversely correlated. And so you can see dollar strength typically means gold weakness. So we've had some decent moves up on gold there, some dollar and big moves down on gold. And now the dollar is kind of doing this weakening thing right now while gold is strengthening. And so it really puts us in kind of an interesting area of what may happen. Is the dollar index ready to break out? We have some little trend lines right here that could get interesting. Is it going to break? Is it going to move below some of this area and start continuing down while gold is continuing up? Another interesting thing, I don't look at this actually very often, but FXCM, through their news side of things, posts what their retail traders are up to. And they call it Speculative Sentiment Index. And this basically just says whatever retail traders are doing, the market's going to do the opposite. It's kind of a negative way to look at things, but it tends to be somewhat accurate. And their numbers are showing that their retail traders are buying into euro dollar weakness. And so for them, they're saying the euro dollar is going to continue down. According to their past history and all of their stuff, that the euro dollar is going to continue down. So it's going to be interesting to see. We have non-farm payroll coming tomorrow. That's going to move the US dollar quite a bit. And now we've got this euro dollar kind of stuck between two trend lines here, between a big, huge trend line to the downside, again, below 10800. I'm hugely bearish euro dollar. I'm headed into parity and beyond. But we start getting back up above 10950, 110, and I'm getting bullish again. Right now, it's in this interesting little stage where I don't know what it's going to do, but I think there's going to be an interesting movement happening tomorrow morning with non-farm payroll, and that should clarify some things for us. So let's keep a really close eye on, let's just say, 110 and 10800. Anything above or below those levels puts me hugely bullish or hugely bearish. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. And I think gold's big push up definitely put some influence and some pressure on the euro dollar to go higher. But let's see how non-farm payroll numbers come out. Should be an interesting move, and we've got some big trades coming out of this one in the not too distant future. Good luck, everybody. Hope it works out well for you and you make some money on this one.
365 left, I'm counting to the day.